Let's give it up for Ben!
Hey, buddy. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to.
I still have one deal in the works. It's the one I've been working on for like 4 years. And so they finally listed it. And so I'm like, all right, let's make a deal. So I'm still working on it. I'm not quitting. I'm not going to quit.
I sit down with my cheesecake at dinner last night, if you were at our table, and he just starts talking about his fitness accountability group. I'm like, what? Let's talk accountability. Where's your facility after 12 months? So if you were here last year, you remember that, but we can keep giving Nate a hard time. I'm really excited to speak to this group specifically. I'm not going to make you play the clap game, but real quick, I want to know when people got in the game, just quick, raise of hands. So if you decided you were going to get into storage this year, will you raise your hand for me? Okay, love it. If you have been in the industry for 5 years, raise your hand for me. Okay, how about 10? Okay, we've got a couple.
As a consumer.
Okay, that's a good answer. The reason I ask is because this time is such a unique time to want to get in the game. If you haven't noticed, we still have the world thought leader in storage putting on this event. We have better food than last year, but the room is smaller. And for me, that fires me up because ever since 2021, people that came here as casuals, as spreadsheet flippers, as people that wanted to come make a quick hit and run, those people are gone. And whether you wrote it out for the last 5 years or you're getting in at a bottoming out market, it fires me up because you believe in the asset and the long-term wealth. And that's a big deal. You guys are here to actually do it the right way and make that long-term gain. And you heard AJ, I mean, you guys decided before you bought your ticket before you heard his speech last night, but he's saying that it's going to bottom out and rates are going to drop. It's the time. So I'm really excited to talk about scaling today with you. Really quick, just a note about scaling. Oh, this is what I was thinking of with you guys. So everyone else is the ones that wants a helicopter ride to the top of the mountain. You guys are ready to do the real hike, the one that's actually going to make the money. But obviously, like the people that got in 2021, they got in, they lost, they're gone by now. We're still here. We're going to ride the next wave. I want to talk about mindset real quick, okay? Now, we love storage investors, operators, because we're kind of a unique, goofy bunch. Like, we're not the flashiest. I drive a Toyota. I'm not a watch collector. We'll leave that to the brokers. But we're kind of a modest group. Like, it's not sexy. We just want to live the American dream. We just want passive income and long-term wealth. But let me warn you of downside to that. And that is that I find too many storage investors are modest about their ambitions. So you'll ask someone, what's your goal? What do you want out of this? I don't know, not much. Maybe a little bit. One of our core values at Big Storage Ventures is we are unapologetic empire builders. Like, we don't care if we have less money, less experience, if we're younger, we're not ashamed to admit our true goal. So I read this book by Carol Dweck. Put it on your list if you haven't read it. But it studies kids from a young age the kids who are afraid to admit what they really want, they dismiss their failure, have that fixed mindset. And the kids that they look at failure as an opportunity for growth, they're the ones that go further in life. So next time someone asks you what you want, think hard about that right now, write it down so that you can answer honestly. Hey, I want an empire. I want 50 facilities someday. Don't back down from that. It's helped us quite a bit. And you keep your modesty, you keep your humility that we love so much about each other, but don't back off your ambitions. Okay, so what my objective is today, we're going to talk about scaling to 10 plus facilities. We're going to talk about, hopefully at least 10 takeaways that are going to be up there on the board at the end, but I'm going to do it through my story. I got into storage. I scaled a little moving company from the age of 20 to 24, and it was a pickup truck and a 12-foot trailer, and we were just winging it, doing little projects, and that's a whole other story for another time. But I learned how to hustle in my early 20s, and I realized something. As I was doing moving projects for people in town, I started getting calls that would go something like this. Hey, we want to hire you for our moving, great, and can you do our storage? No, right? And so I'm passing that off. And I realized I have this huge opportunity to put all of these leads into a storage facility, create cash flow and wealth. Okay? So what did I do? I started taking some punches. I took my life savings. I bought a piece of land. I didn't know what I was doing. This was 2019, 2020, so there was no good on-market deals. I was too ignorant to get a coach or a mentor, and so we started taking some punches. I went to every bank in town, and the first couple times they laughed me out of their office. You're 24, like literally moving just barely with a 12-foot trailer, and then I upgraded to like a 1999 used U-Haul van. Like we don't have 1 year of good tax returns. And so I don't know how to get a partner. I don't know how to do any of that. So they taught me through rejection how to put together a spreadsheet, how to put together a pro forma. I knew it would work. I just didn't know how to speak the language of the banks. So finally, once I got through every bank, I started going around to the same banks, just different branches. And the third branch of the same bank, they gave me the loan. Okay? So a couple lessons. One is get in the game, right? There's no excuse for not taking action. You guys everyone in this room is automatically connected with someone that they can bounce ideas off of, right? Get in the game. You're here. You're already in the game. You're in the right place. That ties into the next point. Don't go it alone. One of the reasons we stay so approachable at Big Storage Ventures is we remember what it was like to not know where to turn, right? After this deal was an awesome success, and I realized I need to turn this into my whole career. This is when we doubled down, and we hired AJ as a coach, and we started to build a team. And the last lesson is resilience, right? If you can take punches, just like anything else in life, right? We love sports for this reason. We love anything else that requires something of you. Storage is fought and won in the spreadsheets and the banks a lot of times, but at the end of the day, you have to be resilient. And the velocity is amazing when you can get a mentor, get a network like you're building today, and you can start to scale. Things move fast. So we did, just to give you guys some idea, I had this dream in 2019. It took me 2 years. We built in 2020. I didn't know how to buy, so we built. And then in 2021, we opened our doors. Took me 2 more years to get deal number 2, and that was in 2023. We closed on that. And then from 2023 to now, those 2 years, we've done a dozen more deals. So just speaks to the velocity of scaling. Okay? Thank you. Sure, thanks. I attribute it all to joining the inner circle, getting good coaches, and being willing to build a team. Okay, so we all know what happened after 2021, right? Everything kept going up from there, right? Wrong. Okay, so I had this ecstasy in my blood of this really successful first deal. We worked hard, but we had a good market, right? And so I started watching YouTube videos of AJ converting Kmarts. It looked super easy, right? Like that. He makes it look so effortless. I could do that. And meanwhile, I got married in 2020. There's my beautiful wife. She's right there. And sure, yeah, and she said to me, this moving company is growing rapidly, and we got a storage deal that's going well. And I remember she said to me, when will enough be enough? I was like, whoa, wait a minute. We are on different wavelengths. She's super supportive. I was like, we're going for it. Like, we're going to be doing a series of deals every single year. And so this is just a little bit of like the context, right? So once I saw that AJ could easily, right, I say that facetiously, easily convert a Kmart, what I do, I bought 2 warehouses and I said, oh, market's going to keep going up. We'll just build 100,000 square feet of conversion, right? You see where this is going? Everyone sees what's going to happen, right? A little bit of failure coming my way, okay? So what did we have to do? Well, let me go back here. We had to cut the project in half, okay? Because we realized even though the banks were loaning very frivolously back then, even though the bank gave us the loan to build out 100,000 square feet, we saw the writing on the wall. We didn't keep our head in the sand. We realized this is not going to be healthy. So we built out half of it, and we kept that warehouse there, kind of the bigger one in the middle that we rent out to, we rented out to Mastercraft boats and countertop companies, and just I never thought I was going to be an industrial landlord, but it's kind of what my partners needed me to do. And we've had some really high-paying, good tenants that have helped us stay healthy. But guess what? When that warehouse clears out and my commercial agents can't fill it, I'm literally knocking doors in industrial parks to fill it, because it's kind of that adapt or die mentality. Another thing, we cut corners on builder and architect. So we're like, okay, market's tight. We picked the lowest number builder on our first deal. We picked the lowest number architect on our first deal. Let's do it again. It'll probably work out again. But that did not work out for us either, right? So on this deal, it was the perfect 1-2 punch, right? My first 2 deals, I got an amazing taste of how much wealth you can create through self-storage. My second deal, I got a gut check. I got some failure, and I had to adapt or die. So I think these 2 deals have kind of carried me through the rest in a really cool way, because I am balanced. I see what's possible, but I also see what's potentially out there, the pitfalls, right? Ask for help. At this conference, you should connect with everyone you can. And when you have a deal you're looking at, call them. They'll do the same for you. You want to make sure you help each other, because you don't want to be talked out of a good deal, or you don't want to talk yourself out of a good deal, or let yourself get emotional about a bad deal. 1 bad deal equals 12 good ones in terms of stress and money and time bandwidth. That's a big deal. And then also partner with people who may admit to their mistakes, right? If you're talking to someone and they're saying, we've never messed up, everything's been to the moon with us, it's like, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, because if they never made a mistake, they're either inexperienced or maybe they're being a little deceitful to you, right? So, and then love your mistakes and view them with a growth mindset. My mistakes, this one deal, I promise you, was worth 10 master's degrees. All the principles that we use now in our underwriting and everything like that come from this deal. So the fun was just beginning though, right? Remember, the next 2 years, everything's going to heat up. Third deal, huge lawsuit. I had these 2 major investors. They have tons of money, tons of experience against me. At this point now, I've got a couple deals, but I still feel so green in storage, right? So we found a wholesaler. We love any wholesalers in the room? Okay, go find some wholesalers, but it allows me to speak freely about this story. So this wholesaler gave us this perfect deal. We run our home bases in the Mountain West, and they found this perfect deal. Like in Salt Lake City, they locked it up at a good price. We didn't care they were taking a markup. Like, this was a buy. All the buy signals were there. And we had said no to a bunch of deals in between the second and third deal, obviously. But we were moving to close on this deal, and everything was going well on our end, but we noticed something really funny. These wholesalers were like puppy guarding their relationship with the seller. I think they worried that if we backed out, they still wanted to try to wholesale it. So as we were getting closer to closing, we're like, we actually need to talk to the seller. Like, we're gonna close. You guys, you're secure. And when we got the seller on the phone, they thought that the wholesaler canceled. And to double up on that, they were very upset that they found out that the wholesaler wasn't the one that was closing on the facility, that they were taking a markup, right? Like, that kind of got their blood boiling. So a lawsuit started to posture. There was a couple calls, and I remember one culminated with like a lot of yelling and cursing and, hey, like, we're gonna take this to the mat. We have more money than you. We are not gonna sell you our facility. And meanwhile, my lawyer, he's telling me, you're good, like you can close. You have the legal right. You have it in writing, and you have a case, but it's gonna cost you a couple of years and a couple $100,000. And so we're like, oh my God. You can imagine the whiplash we're feeling. We found this amazing deal, our first real good acquisition, but we don't know what to do with these sellers. And so I did the only thing I knew left to do, and that was took these guys to breakfast just as a Hail Mary. Let's see if we can work it out with these guys. And of course, so it's me, and then it's them, these two more experienced gentlemen, and then they brought their nephew as their bodyguard, I'm sure. But, you know, they were posturing for whatever I was gonna bring. The walls were up. And I really had to use my soft skills. I had to ask inspired questions. I had to listen and discern what they're really after, you know, and try to figure out how can we walk away both as winners, right? Because something about me that I hope gives you guys hope is I really don't have a computer brain. I'm not backed by any money, don't have any advantages that many of you may have, but one thing I do have is a desire to use those soft skills. And I think there will never be a technical skill set that is more valuable than the most valuable soft skill sets. Because when you can communicate with people, you can leverage that communication into win-win situations and deals. And so here's how it shook out. We walked out as business partners. They got to sell half and cash out at the low price that we were excited about, but they got to stay in the deal as 50% partners with us, and they got to have a young, hungry operating partner to go increase the value of their 50%. And for us, we got a deal for no money down. We got 50% without putting a dime into it because they own the facility free and clear. So for us, how do you measure the returns on $0 down for half a facility? And I just think it goes to show that you can turn a disaster into a win with a little bit of soft skills and creativity. There you go. There's the solution. Okay, yeah.
Can you divulge just quickly what was really the crux behind them? Was it just they felt they were losing out on the extra money?
The two issues with them was they were upset with the wholesaler. The wholesaler muddied everything up and was very hard to work with. You know, like we don't blame them in some ways. Like they're working with VAs in South Africa who are managing this transaction. What the takeaway for us is that when someone assigns you a contract, it's assigned. You need to, like the very next day, you take over. You call the seller, hey, this contract's been assigned to me. We intend to close. I'm your new point of contact. We were rookies, and they said, oh, let us handle it. It'll be better. You know, like they were puppy guarding it in case we backed out. But the wholesaler was the one who was causing the issues. So yeah, they were mad that the communication was poor. They claimed that the contract wasn't binding because it was kind of messy. And then they were upset when they found out that they were leaving money on the table. I mean, truthfully, this couple $100,000 at least, you know, and it's in Salt Lake City. It's a good asset. Good question though. Does that answer it? Yeah.
What's the verbiage that you use with wholesalers going forward now, wanting to take it over as soon as it gets assigned? Because that's, I know that can be tricky.
The verbiage is up to the lawyers. I don't have the verbiage memorized, but I do have a great lawyer that, yeah, the lawyer was getting really involved about this time, and so I direct everything to him. I don't know if Callan wants to, I mean, do you have any?
Well, I don't know if this is working, but
Callan's my partner, by the way.
yeah, the lawyer used the term apparent authority. So basically, that wholesaler was acting in our behalf when they were sending all the emails, having all the phone calls. We thought that we are under contract, we were, but they do have this apparent authority when they're communicating with the sellers for us. And they got in a fight. The wholesaler and the seller got in a fight. They started arguing, and then the wholesaler was like, "We're done. We're backing out. We're taking, like, this is done. We're done." And Ben was like, "No, we're not. We're not done. We're closing on this thing. This is our deal." And so, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was that clear, like the backing out piece, but it was like, we're done with this or something like that. And it's like, well, you assign us the contract. We decide the rules here. So apparent authority is the exact verbiage. So thanks, Callan. Now you got to have a good team to back you up. We'll talk more about team. Okay, sorry. Okay, so here is the true secret sauce, right? When do you stretch for a deal and when do you walk? This is like the biggest thing, you guys, because we've reviewed all these deals. We reviewed deals on market, off market. You guys are all looking at deals, and they're all tempting. Like they're all, some of them aren't close, but most of them are kind of close. Like man, we could justify it if this, right? And so we learned about how to measure when to stretch, when to break your own rules, so to say, because you're going to say what your buy box is, but do you have the understanding of when you can stretch those rules and when you have to walk and hold them, right? So, of course, everyone loves the Kenny Rogers song, "Know when to hold them, know when to fold them." So this is where I live. This is Ivins, Utah. They just did the Black Desert Golf Resort. This is where we grew up. You got those beautiful red cliffs, and this is such a beautiful location that this asset is the only one that they'll let be built in the city. Like you can see it's a little older. It's really nice block building, but it's outlawed. No competitors can come in because it's such a hoity-toity place, right? So we found this as like an off-market deal, and so fortunate. We co-GP'd on someone that found it for us, but they didn't want to negotiate and underwrite and raise the capital and operate. So we co-GP'd with them and gave them a finder's fee, and we got in with the seller. Seller is an amazing person. I really respect him. He's a staunch negotiator. He got a price in 2021 for $7.5 million for this thing. And let me tell you, it was worth about half that. But someone cold called him one day and said, "Hey, would you take $7.5 million?" He never heard from him again. Like, we asked him, like, "Well, why didn't you take it?" They were flaky. That was a flaky offer anyways, but it was stuck in his head. So he wants $7.5 million from it. We sit down and say, "Look, can you at least do seller financing with us?" And we communicated. We used our soft skills to help him see how that would benefit him, right? And he decided he would do that. So we took it from him wanting 200% of what it's worth to about 150% of what it's worth. We still had an issue. Even though this was a monopoly with demand and upside, it was 100% full. It was at 33% market rates, right? So he's charging $50 for a unit that should be $150 everywhere else in the county. Okay, he's open to seller finance, but he wants so much. And these are all our neighbors. Like, these people in these units have my personal cell phone number. And Callan's dad disowned him over this. The current revenue was 20 grand, and our new debt would be 34 grand a month. So talk about breaking the rules, right? Like, AJ, if we don't pay for the future, right, we got to pay for what's in place. But when do you stretch that a little bit, right? So this This is one of those times when we had to ask WWJD. Does anyone know what that stands for? Well, where's Jesse? Did Jesse leave for this? Okay, this will be even better. You guys can all tell him later. Jesse is the guy, I mean, he tried to act like he's not a cutthroat, but he's the guy who makes AJ money, the bald guy that was up here talking about raising rents. We ask ourselves, what would Jesse do? And so we did it. We bought the deal. We tripled rents. We tripled rents. Exodus, not as bad as you might think, 15%. But now we over doubled revenue. It's cash flowing. We've created 7 figures of equity for our partners. Like, this was a time to really stretch. We got the angry phone calls, but we just brought it up to market, right? We weren't doing anything crazy or dishonest. We just saw what demand was there and took advantage. Let me talk about one we just did recently. This is one we had to walk away from, but 2.9 mil, you can see that as the sales price. And let me see my laser here. So they wanted it because this is right off an exit. This is a truck stop. There's like a big truck stop right here. This is perfect for another one. So they're up in the night, right? Like most people would say, not even close. This is worth 1.3, right? Like this is not even close to what they're asking. Let's just walk. But this is 25 minutes from where we operate. This is in our ecosystem. Maybe we could work with them, even though it's an on-market deal, right? So prime freeway frontage, we love the location. So what we asked them for was, we said, look, will you guys just parcel off this gas station land and sell it to us for 1.3? And they said, you guys can pound sand. And we even took it to the Inner Circle event. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was an Inner Circle only event I think this was a year and a half ago. We said, guys, can you help us? Can we stretch here? Can you Inner Circle members like give us that hope that we can just do this one somehow and come up for these guys? And we walked away saying, no, hold your ground. It's a good asset, but we don't want to overpay for it, right? The demand was not triple like it was in this other deal, right? And so the lesson is the demand will tell you. These guys, we walked away, but nearly a year later, they kept falling out of contract with others, and they called us back. They said, okay, we're ready. So now we got the deal at the price we wanted for what it's worth, and we're so excited that we have this as a great piece of our portfolio right off the freeway with room to expand. But we're so glad that we held our ground and let demand tell us what to do in the situation. So hopefully that helps you know when to stretch and when to hold your ground. Okay, so this is our Cedar West facility, sidebar. This is a really overbuilt market, too much drive-up units, but it's a market we wanted to be in, and they had no climate-controlled units. So that's what we did. We built, what they didn't have was climate-controlled, enclosed RV, covered RV, so we built that. And we decided every unit is its own market. Let's just build what's not there. And this one's leasing up right now, 10% per month. It's going really well. But I have to back up to kind of a funny story as we're getting our partners together. So we needed $900,000 for the raise, and that would cover the debt for the bank, capital to burn for the lease up, emergency fund, done, right? And so our partners, very well-to-do guys, they're the executive team for a big construction company, and they were excited about the deal, but they said, well, do you need the full 900? Like, can we do any less? How much does the bank need? Yeah, we could probably shave $200,000 off for the bank, but what about the lease up? They said, look, we're all big boys. We'll be happy to do the capital call when that comes, right? No big deal. They said, if I give my wife a credit card with a really high limit, she's just gonna spend it. Doesn't really matter if I tell her to be prudent, she's gonna spend the full limit. If I give you guys $900,000, I'm never seeing that again. I said, well, we really think it's best. We would be happy to return the capital, but okay, if you guys want to be big boys and when the time comes for the lease up, you want to participate, fine. So how do you think it went any guesses of how it went when the time for the capital call was? Yeah, they said, well, we didn't say that. I said, let me jog your memory. Remember when you told me I was like your wife with a credit card? Like, remember that? And they said, Oh, yeah, right. Still not very fun, right? Still not very fun. But this is a good example of an asset that is the plan. It's going according to plan. Asset's amazing. It's probably my favorite one. It's really, really nice. But the planning was poor, right? Poorly capitalized, big mistake. Contrast that. I'll go through these a little quicker. This is our deal in Paris, Tennessee. We had a second loan that we needed to raise over 100 grand for. It was kind of like a contingency plan, like we don't need it, but let's raise it and have it just in case kind of thing. And we put it in a high yield savings account. This is Callan's idea. Hey, let's put it in a high yield savings account so that it's making money, it's working in the meantime, but when we need it, it'll be there. We bought this for $730,000, and because we capitalized it so well, we've done everything we needed. Now this is they gave us a zero money down expansion loan to build another expansion in the back. And when it's done, it's going to be worth 1.5, so over double. But it's gone, our partners are raving fans because we set it up right? Because when we set it up the way we set it up for success. And this creates thrilled group of partners. Another example here is our Payson, Arizona facility. It's mostly RV. We added some storage, but some traditional storage units. But same thing. We overraised for the CapEx. We had tens of thousands left over. We made some prudent decisions and cut some of our spending. When we return that capital, the returns instantly go up, and that's what we did here. I hope I'm painting the picture of how different it is when you are well capitalized and how thrilled the group is versus not, right? So the first asset was the best asset, and it's going according to plan. But the group was set up for success better on these other two. Terms make the deal, okay? Goes back to soft skills. It doesn't matter if you know what's good for a seller in terms of creative finance, seller finance. Make sure that you are communicating to that on every single deal. You don't want to scare them off, but if you're not communicating it, you're doing a huge disservice to them. This was a deal we did 5% down, 2% interest, and it's not our best asset, but it might be our best deal ever because of those terms. And we were able to help the seller see, hey, this can be something that wins for you. This is going to save you in taxes and your total dollars in the long run. We can give you your super high purchase price you want, and you can feel good about that. And I think this is a big deal. And I just sold my personal home on creative finance subject to. So I think just remembering that you're doing them a favor by selling it creatively. Like, it's something I as a seller wanted to do as well. And it's just communicating that and helping them feel at ease, right? Here's a couple terms. You can take a picture of this slide. These are levers we pull when we want to do creative finance. We could do a whole hour just on this, but I feel like it was at least worth it for you guys to have this. Obviously, the purchase price is the shiny object they care about. You can adjust down payment, interest rate. You can assume their debt. Pace Morby was here 2 years ago. He said, anything two people can agree on, you can sign. You can do it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Balloons, if you can do something temporarily to get you off the ground, but then you refi in 5-10 years. Amortization schedule, if they want to stretch it to 40 years so that you can get their interest rate they feel good about. There's just creative ways that you can do it. Not to get too into the weeds, equal principal payments where, like, traditionally they front load the interest and the principal is paid at the end. You can just straight line that, and that we did that on this one. And so if we ever refi, we have a huge advantage. Months of payment, like, okay, we'll take your deal, but you got to give us 12 months to get our feet under us. And then, of course, equity. All right, you've squoze all the cash out of this. How about 10% of the deal? Or, obviously less is better, like 2%, 5%, but whatever you got to do to get it if you want it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, that's a couple case studies I hope help you, but I want to talk about the honest truth behind scaling, okay? And now I know that there was a couple questions that came through the Whova app we can get to, and if you guys have some, feel free to raise your hands, but The truth about scaling is that it's financially tight. Why we love this asset class is for the long run. We know the wealth, the insane cash flow that you can create in the long run, but all of your work, risk, stress, it's all front loaded. So it makes it very, very difficult to scale this business because it's cash tight until it's stable. And then you get the benefits, right? So you have to believe in the asset and get people that come along with you to see the same thing, right? So talk a lot about fees in a deal, right? Why do you need fees? Because you are going to be cash tight as the operator, as the asset manager. We talked about capitalizing the deal well, but you also need to capitalize the asset manager well, because that's in the best interest of everybody if the asset manager can keep the lights on. Okay? So that's how you help with helping people who are contributing to fees see the vision. Let's talk about the internal team. You could see, raise your hand if you're on our team here. I'm going to tie a couple questions that came through the Hoova app together. So if you want your team to come along for the ride, same thing goes for the external partners and for yourself. You're in this even though it's a long-term play. Everyone on the team has to be on the same page. So things like profit sharing, vesting shares, those are ways that you can have a team say, I'm willing to come along for the ride. Obviously, you got to take care of their current lifestyle, but you should be very generous in the long-term upside if you're wanting someone to come along for the ride. And that's what we've tried to do at Big Storage Ventures. I had a question that was very interesting. This is kind of going into the questions from the Hoova app, but one question was, who should be my first hire if I'm trying to scale? I thought it was a great question, but it depends on your goal. If you're trying to bootstrap, it's way different than if you're trying to scale top down. Now let me explain. So when I started my moving company, just for an example, money was more important to me than time. So I would hire the lowest paid job first, and I would do the higher paid jobs myself, right? Until I could afford to hire everything out in the whole company. So with my moving company, it was bottom-up scaling. My storage company, my first hire was my business partner, Callan, and we were doing top-down scaling, meaning hire the most important key figure, your CEO, your integrator, and then hire everyone else in later, right? And so we've done some top-down scaling with the storage company. And so outside of answering the question that way, we have CFO, CEO, and Callan, and we have Jack, raise your hand, he's head of acquisitions, so he's doing the private equity side. Sean is the COO. Yeah, clap for Jack. Now we better clap for Sean even louder. Sean's our COO, so he's keeping all the promises Jack makes. And of course, we can't forget Micah. I mean, marketing is everything, right? So, yeah, clap loudest for Micah. Okay. Here's the cheat sheet. Okay. This is that 10? Okay. We'll go back. Okay. So this is the 10 lessons I want you to take away, and then we can, if we have time, just a couple questions. 6 minutes. Okay, 6 minutes. We'll do maybe one or two. Get in the game. Don't go it alone. Be resilient. Adapt or die. Don't cut corners. See failure as an opportunity to grow. Soft skills overrule technical skills. You can't do it without either, but just remember that. Demand tells you when to stretch for a deal and when to let a deal come to you. Well capitalize the asset and the asset manager, and terms are better than assets. What was a couple of the favorite questions that came through? And you guys can raise your hand too, but I know that some asked on the app.
This was the first one. It was, should a first timer start by buying a small, medium, or large facility? Or should their first deal be a silent investor to learn self-storage business before going on their own?
Great question. I think it's an abundance thing. So I think let me just teach you it this way. My first deal I did all on my own, the hard way, without any mentors or partners. And every deal since then, we've done with partners. I'm the minority partner, and we've had way more velocity. So for me, I'd rather have a quarter of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. And I also think you hedge your risk really well that way, right? Like going and doing something all on your own is higher risk, higher reward. I think you can get a lot of the lessons coming along for the ride, and then you can make an educated decision. You get a front row seat, but you don't have an obligation if you come along as a passive partner. Now, as far as size goes, buy box changes as you grow. I still think even for someone just getting in the game, anything less than 10,000 square feet is just a job. There's not enough meat on the bone to make it like a really passive investment. Our buy target is 15,000 plus, but that's gonna have to grow as we grow. We're probably almost done with that size. Good question.
Let's see. This one, I think it's important because a lot of people might want to, one deal or maybe two might be their vision, not 10 plus. So it was, why did you choose to syndicate and scale, 13 plus facilities instead of stopping at a couple deals where you could own 100% and make all the money yourself?
Great question. And I think the answer is twofold. So there is the intrinsic answer and there's the financial answer. The reason we scale is because my personal, situation is better having a small piece of 13 deals than 100% of 3 deals. That's just the reality of it. I get more diversification, more exposure to upside, and there's a lot of economies of scale, right? So we have a whole operations team, we built out a property management company that can now be more efficient, and our expenses are lower on every single deal. Where owning 100% would be nice, but I think my overall situation would be less economies of scale and less net worth. The second reason is we have this inside of us that pulls us for building and for greatness, right? Like there's something inside of you that wants to build, wants to be a part of it. And we have a group here today because we have 13 facilities. We couldn't support the team with 3 facilities. It's not something I could bring my high school best friend along for the ride or any of these guys that I'm really, really close with. There's just more meat on the bone, the more deals that you can do. And I think AJ's a great example. Like he could probably cash out and probably be just fine, but he's putting on this event, he's working, he's building because there's something in you that loves the grind of growing, that wants to build and be a part of more and more. And it's something that if you stop doing it, maybe you get stagnant and you get in a bad place. Yeah.
You have 1 minute.
Any burning questions before I kind of cap it?
I was just curious if you incorporated the moving still in all your facilities.
The question is the moving incorporated in our facilities? So in many of our assets in the Mountain West, the moving company helps. So we fill units faster, we raise rent more, we have higher paying clients because the same people that pay for movers are willing, they have more discretionary income. But it's a huge testament to our storage team that we have been able to have some of our most successful projects outside of our moving ecosystem. And so, yeah, like 50% of our facilities are really benefited from the moving company. 50% is just our storage team. And we see a lot of help from the moving company, but we see a lot of our better investments really aren't helped much by the moving company as much. Good question. I'll cap it with this. Let's get together and connect if you have more, but scaling is a decision, right? It's a fork in the road where you can coast or let off the gas, or you can put a knife to your hand and sacrifice more on the altar of business and take your profits and dump it back in. And Big Storage Ventures was not built by the smartest or richest guys, but by guys who could get punched in the mouth and keep going. If that resonates with you, feel free to follow along for the journey. But I can't wait to come back in 5 years and see what you guys accomplish from now until 2030. So thanks for having me.
Let's give it up. And your contact information,
Just follow Big Storage Ventures on Instagram, or just request my contact in the Hoova app. Thank you.
There we go.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. If we had more time, I'd be like, the question I have burning inside of me, let's say hypothetically there was a guy who committed to buying a storage facility 12 months ago and didn't.
Thank you.
What advice would you have for that guy? We don't have time for that right now. But I'm just saying, I think you'd all be curious about it. I have a comment on that, but Ashley has some very important things for us. So Ashley, before we go to our next session, what do you have for all these lovely people?